What's up, everybody? It appears we are live. I am checking in YouTube since we are streaming from Restream today. Let me see here. There it is. How is everyone?
What's going on, boys?
Let's make sure we got the full chat here. It looks like we probably are missing something, which is unfortunate. But you know what? Who cares? It will come in.
There we go.
Welcome to the Black Lodge Games live stream tonight. We are joined by Chubby Funster, who's quickly become a good friend of ours. Met him in person at North Texas RPG Con just maybe a month ago or so. Had probably the most epic game of nuclear war. He played in my in your vampire game.
That's
and
true.
in my Shucked Oyster Shadowdark game, which was excellent. We got a bunch of people in the chat. We are missing a lot of the initial chats, so I won't be able to say hello to everybody, but let's see who we got. We got Joshua Graham Crackers. I want to click notify, but that would ruin the balance of having 69 followers. I guess I'll have to catch it the old-fashioned way. Pure instinct. Nice is what I got to say. We do have a comment from us here, which is a link to the pre-launch page for ShadowCity, which we are going to be talking about tonight. ShadowCity is very interesting and very cool. And if you like Vampire, you're going to love it. And if you hate Vampire, you're going to love it as well.
That's right.
You do not have to go to Hot Topic for this, but check that out. Go get signed up. Click the link.
We will be backing
smash
it.
notify.
You should too.
Yeah, we'll be backing
Most
on
definitely.
day one. We got the Blind Marksman. Hello. Robert Santon. How's it going? The Vans here. Andrew
What's up,
McGraw. We got we're not doing a giveaway tonight, but I do want to say last week's giveaway, we had 2 copies of OSE's Player Tome. I did not receive any emails for people. If you want your stuff and you won,
You gotta let us know.
you gotta let us know, because if I don't know where you live, I can't send it to you. And I think I still have a Hellmarch to give away as well. Someone did not claim that.
really?
Yeah. I'll have to go back and find out who that was. Squat Bench Deadlift is here. Good to see you.
See you as always, man.
Day Draconis, right on time as always. Exactly. Not a moment too soon either. Runeforged is here. Runeforged also has, I believe it's called Shadows of Camelot. I do have the PDF. I'm making my way through it right now. But it is an excellent little campaign setting in Arthurian England, basically. Post-Arthurian England. For Shadowdark and other old school role-playing games. It is very good. So we'll be talking about that at some point as well. Online Father Figure,
What's up,
how's
man?
it going? Ivory Knight. He doesn't look that chubby. I've been lied to. That is correct. Yeah. Thick Funster is maybe what you should change your name to. Signed up for this already and got Oathhammer PDF. It's been a good week. Nice.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I have not filled out my backer kit survey yet, but I did receive it. Victor's here. Hello, my
What's up,
foreign
dude?
friends. We are, of course, the natives here, not foreigners. Yeah, we got a whole lot of people.
Yeah.
Grognard's here.
People are excited
right.
to know what possibly the most prolific man in the space, in the game,
Yeah,
if you will,
exactly. He
is
has
up to.
the corner on.
It's been 3 weeks. It is time.
Yeah, it's time for another giant book to be released. Yeah, if you guys don't know, Chubby Funster has done a ton of products for both Shadowdark and a couple for Adventure Conqueror King System
Yeah.
too, which
We
we
do
have.
We have Mulyadi the Conqueror right here, Warlords of Gavardia right here,
Yeah.
which was generously donated
Yeah,
by
the man himself.
the man himself.
Yeah, Warlords, if I'm correct, is a full, basically, it's like 9,600 hex or something like that.
Yeah, 9,800. Yeah.
9,800 hex campaign setting for Adventure Conqueror King. You can jump right in with some domain play, and Mulyadi the Conqueror is very cool and a very interesting way to get into high level axe play. It's not. I have not read it yet, but I watched your stream with McCrease about it, and it's a very interesting idea of like, here are some high level characters, and
It's such a good idea.
this is the log of like everything that they've seen and all the hexes that they've explored, with like tons and tons of hooks.
Yeah,
It's very cool.
Much like Shadow City is an idea,
I
wish
never
we
would have
had.
thought of. Yeah.
but you can't win them all.
But Greg, why don't you tell us what is Shadow City and why do these awful goth kids in our chat, why should they be interested in this?
Well, Shadow City is an adaptation of the mechanical basis of Shadow Dark and how it generates a very intense, um, just constantly about to die, everything is super important gameplay loop, and adapting that to the vampire setting, so that every single night is an absolutely critical night for you. It's not like, oh well, we're going to set this plan in motion and we're going to set this plan in motion, we're going to wait for these things to resolve. Like, in the play test that I ran with my Saturday night group, they had to kill like 12 gang members before dawn, or else they were seriously smoked.
Yeah.
So they were like using every last hour to hunt these guys down and take them out. So it's just, rather than have that pattern of play that vampire people are used to, it brings that OSR play in the same way that, like if you do a sci-fi setting like that, it's totally different from running some kind of long, patient game of Traveler where you're running it like a business. You got to make every single thing count, like in a Serenity way. So it's a different approach to the genre. And one of the things we talked about on private message, Matt, was like, it has a whole bunch of tools for the GM to build anything they need almost immediately. There are several times in the playtesting where they went into something I didn't have, and I just made a few die rolls, and this is this is how it is.
Right.
You can build, like in the preview video, you can see how you just build out a node map of any shape that you need, and then you just roll dice to figure out what's in each of those nodes. And you could build, the example in the book is Nakatomi Tower. There's all of these different examples that I put in the video that I made for the playtest. There was a hospital and a fairground where you could walk around in a loop rather than it be just a linear node map. And it's totally flexible. And on the city level side, you can build out as many neighborhoods as you want and populate them with points of interest. And then the players, if they can control those points of interest, they get kind of like blood as a revenue source. So control, if you control a neighborhood with 3 points of interest, you're getting 3 basically free blood points every night. That is massive, less time having to hunt, less time having to deal with problems. So that also then puts you right from the beginning in direct competition and conflict with people that are bigger and stronger than you.
Right.
And so even if you're, third level, going up against a 4th or 5th level character like in Shadow is dicey.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting too, because it's like this this is not a clone of like Vampire the Masquerade at all. Which is very, very interesting, because it obviously takes some inspiration from that, because it's this I won't even say necessarily it's a gothic punk world, but the timeline for the game starts in 1981. Like, that's when it starts. And so you don't have cell phones, you don't have the internet.
You don't even have
like
Blockbuster yet.
Yeah.
Blockbuster's not till 1985.
Right. And there's no overarching lore or meta plot. That's not what this game is about. This is a game that is about basically clawing out your own territory and fighting for your life, because you've only got a certain amount of time to do that every single night. It's not like, I wake up at 6 a.m. and I have to pull an all-nighter and I work until 3 a.m. That doesn't work. You've got maximum 12 hours a night to get what you need done. You've got enemies that are coming after you during the day, potentially. And the thing that I love about this, the idea of kind of the masquerade, you've done all sorts of things that are tied to time in this game. So can you kind of explain like how the game proceeds? Like, what is and is there lore, so to speak? Like, what is this game about?
There's 2 time scales that are part of the moment-to-moment game interactions. There's an hourly time scale. So, like, if you have 12 hours a night, if you get up and you have to patrol your neighborhood and you have to do this and you have to do that. That's sucking up those hours for you to do things. So the stronger you get, the more time pressure you will be under every night to maintain those things. So it's not like I'm going to take a ghoul because it'd be cool for me to have a ghoul. Like, no, like you need this ghoul to do this job for you, or else you're going to be out there doing it every night. And then you have, when you go to a location, there is a rounds like in Shadowdark or any OSR game, right? And because you're dealing with a much tighter time frame. And then however long you are at a site, when you kind of zoom back out to, I always think of it like Total War or a video game where like you go into the battle, but then you're zooming back out to like a strategic view, or XCOM's another example. And so if you've spent 2 hours dealing with stuff in this location, when you come back out, those 2 hours are also gone. So you have to balance that. And then the carousing mechanic that has been adapted is a 3-month cycle. So if you go into a carousing to try to get a little bit extra XP, 3 months go by, and every 5 years there's an apocalypse timer that ticks up by 1. So you don't have that time to just burn trying to get XP, because eventually the humans will start figuring out that you're real and start coming after you by this apocalypse timer. And 1 point every 5 years doesn't sound so bad until you realize every time you fuck up, you also get +1 on that timer. So if you do something that really breaks the masquerade, to use the vampire masquerade terminology, you're losing apocalypse points. So the more, or anybody else in the city. So like if your ghoul screws up, if somebody you're allied to, if the prince makes a mistake, like anything can keep pumping this thing up. And I initially put it in because of the technological concerns of, surveillance state. Will it eventually unravel a whole bunch of problems for you? But it also becomes like a natural campaign timer, and then when it runs out, you can just start a new campaign. Or some people on X have suggested that that's the point where you switch over to Blacklight and you start hunting down vampires using Victor's system. So like however you want to end, but it creates an ending unless you are really playing well. So even if you're level 9, if the humans figure out that you're real, you can't stop military grade technology all the time. So you
especially not during the
day.
You
have to plan for that.
That's awesome, because the apocalypse in this is not something like, the ancient blood gods rising up to reclaim their blood. No, it's that like humanity figures it out.
Right.
That's right.
Your time on Earth as this blood-sucking parasite predator is over. They come for you.
And the torch timer mechanic in the game is humans coming into play. So it's not like every once in a while the GM rolls to see if your torch goes out. It's every once in a while they roll to see if a human comes around the corner while you're doing the thing that you're doing. And so if that happens, you now have to kill that human and anybody that human talks to in order to wipe this out. You have to pay money to suppress the press. You have to do all kinds of things to get rid of it, or else that timer will keep ticking up and you're toast.
Yeah, this is the thing I like the most. And there are several things I like about ShadowCity. I love about ShadowCity, and I'm very eager to get a hand on my copy when it comes out. But keeping the city alive, keeping the city moving, it's such a crucial thing for Vampire, which has never really been adequately supported, explained beyond thematics or beyond bear this in mind, and we can all do that. But keeping things moving, having things happening in a city, because you are a tremendous minority in the city as vampires, and as vampires trying to stay hidden from the teeming masses of mortality that are out here. It's such a core part of what should have always been in the game. I'm saying the game as if I'm talking exclusively about VTM, and this is not for VTM, but obviously coming from that, my love of Vampire, it's amazing this hasn't been put into practice before, and this is something, whether you're playing Shadow City as written or not, because you can use Shadow City, and if I run Vampire in the future, I'm absolutely going to be keeping Shadow City also with me, and using those supports and those tables and all of those resources.
Encounter tables was what I was thinking about.
Yeah, there's a lot, and this is the thing where we were kind of thinking about this. One of the big criticisms we've had with Vampire in the last couple of years is that it doesn't have any GM tools. It's very mentally taxing, which can be a lot of fun because it really forces you as a GM to improvise and all this stuff. But the longer that time goes on, the less that I want to be having to be in the position of pulling something out of my ass, at a moment's notice.
And we know, of course, that most people don't.
Yeah.
Right, because we all know what any Vampire game either how it starts or how it turns out after 3 sessions, which is the vampires control everything, and everything proceeds
according
at the
to
snail's pace of Parisian parlor politics.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and there's never the sense of urgency with, the sun coming up was always sort of arbitrary because you don't have a mechanic that's actually enforcing that. And beyond that, it's like, it's supposed to be a game where the timeline advances, but the way it's played, most people generally don't put that into practice. And and that's really not a criticism of them. That is a criticism of the game itself, because the game doesn't tell you how to do that. So it's got some familiarities that you'll see from previous Vampire games, but there's a lot of things that are just very, very different. Like this whole thing, it's like a turf war. That is the point of the game, which is awesome. And we've talked, about how Vampire games should be run sort of like the Mafia, and this is done in a way that is sort of like that. It is the turf war, but it's not explicitly playing Italian mafiosos, which is never what we were arguing for.
Yeah.
But the sign of someone who can, understand that.
Yeah.
It's really, really cool. I can pull up the PDF at any point if you'd like to, if you want to go through some of it.
I would say just jump to one of your encounter table just randomly. Sure. So like the encounters, like they are in old school Renaissance games, are interrupts that can just come in at any moment if the GM needs them, if the players are taking too long, and then you end up, you're making an encounter. You guys encounter a thing, and it adds complications to your plan. So like if you are trying to hunt down those 12 gang members, and you walk around the corner and then you hit a random encounter, it's hyperlinked there on the table of no, I guess that version you have isn't. But the encounter. So like jump to
there we go.
Harbor page 152. It's not hyperlinked yet, but yeah.
We will.
That was the last thing I do is hyperlink the document. Yeah. All right. So like you're going to the harbor to get rid of a body or whatever you're trying to do, and any of these things can happen. From you run into a couple having sex, to an enchanter that is trying to tame fey creatures, to a werewolf.
A crane drops a container ship while loading a cargo ship. Yeah. And a lot of you out there, you're going to notice this has a very closely aligned format with Shadow Dark, but this is not a This is inspired by some of the ideas in Shadow Dark, but it's a full game and has its own mechanics.
Yep.
Yeah. And I just glancing at some of the encounters, not only for the Harbor District, but for all of the different districts, again, coming from a VTM perspective, these are complications. Absolutely.
Yeah.
They are truly random things. Usually, but not always, involving mortals or regular people.
Right.
But imagine you're here in the Harbor District because there's a rival vampire. You're trying to muscle in on their territory, or you're trying to scope out the situation. One of these things happen. If you play your cards right, if you're especially smart and Machiavellian, which you should be if you're playing Vampire or in Shadow City, this opens up blind spots potentially in your rival, stuff that they didn't know about.
Right.
Food and information to utilize, to sell, to gossip about, to whisper into the right ear. So depending on how things happen and how the role play evolves, there's a number of different ways that these occurrences, these encounters could go for your detriment or to your benefit.
And it gives a lot of interesting stuff like this thing. A horror lives beneath a pier, terrorizing those passing overhead. So it's like there's other things out here. It's not simply just vampires. And
Yes.
so
That's
much
right.
like
And I had some talks with Bronstein folks about like that you could run it like this and just use the encounters to introduce everything that's not a vampire.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
And
absolutely.
that you would have all the tools you need for that, and then the players would be in control of neighborhoods,
yeah,
running
that's-
as a patron.
right, exactly. And that's
stuff like that.
you can do massive citywide PvP thing, and
Sure.
that is essentially the point of the game from the conventional perspective. If it's just you and 4 or 5 players at the table, whatever it is,
Yeah.
it's you versus the rest of the NPCs. But easily that this could be all PCs against each other. And there's a lot of these encounter tables. There's one for every type of district in the
there's 20,
city.
yeah.
Yeah, then you've got the different neighborhoods that all have encounter tables as well. So it's absolutely massive. You don't really have to think of much stuff on your own.
But that's all very true. But like any good tool, it doesn't just simplify or give support, which these tables really do. Possibly just as important, maybe even more important, it gets your imagination going.
Yeah.
Even if I don't strictly use this table, although I don't know why you wouldn't, but this like contours my imagination much more in the shape of of how I need to be thinking to make a game like this work.
Yeah.
To make a sort of underworld, gangland, nightly, struggle, citywide struggle happen in a way that makes sense. Of course, there's going to be these sorts of things which are happening in the harbor as opposed to the university district. And maybe I wasn't taking those things into consideration or making events or encounters or circumstances take place as often as I should. This helps me to sort of get right with the vibe, with the theme.
Yeah. And this is something I really, really liked as well. So this is very reminiscent of the kind of generators that you have for settlements and dungeons in Shadow Dark, but it's using the same sort of process. Instead of using D10s, you're going to be using D20s, and you basically roll them onto hex paper, and this by the numerical value that comes up on the facing side, it determines what kind of neighborhood type it is. And the more dice you roll, obviously, the larger that the city is going to be. But then you have all of these different neighborhoods, like you have neighborhood naming tables, and then all of the different points of interest that you get to populate it with.
Every city would be completely different.
Yeah.
Yep.
Every single time. And you could easily, I imagine, take a real city and use the points of interest by the districts that you're already familiar with. If you wanted to do Chicago or New York or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the limited, I don't want to say limited, but the digestible kinds of points of interest or sites or localities, it's a great touchstone. Let's say I want to use a city I'm familiar with, Milwaukee, Philadelphia, whatever. Because this is a huge pitfall with vampire storytellers, where I've seen it so many times in preparing a game. Even when a game is going on, they get caught in Wikipedia holes that last for weeks. It doesn't matter. Yes, technically something did happen in this alleyway that nobody knows about and nobody cares about. Keep it to these types of points of interest. These are the things that matter. So if you're in Philadelphia, okay, there's a museum by the Liberty Bell. That's a big evocative thing there, but you don't need to get caught up in the minutia and the needless trivia of the lore and the world building of a real world or a fictional city.
Yep, and the task system is if the GM doesn't know what they even want to do, you could have the prince or another NPC hand out one of these tasks and just roll 3d20s and you're done.
Yeah.
And that is definitely going to happen. Again, our conception of being a Mafia game, you always have to be kicking up. Being a made man doesn't mean it's a free lunch.
Yeah. You have, stop the priest, and then the complication here is that it's federal agents are involved. It just generates all these different combinations. Now the site part is really interesting as well, because this is the node based approach to locations that you're talking about. Can you tell us about this, please?
Yeah, so I do want to say both of these systems are designed in the same way that I really think this is a critical part of D&D, is that you can sit down with a piece of graph paper and you can draw your own dungeon and you're good. You don't need anyone else to do that for you. And so both of these systems are designed for you to be able to just draw them on a piece of paper, either a hex paper or just regular white paper with the node system. So if you want to go to the next page, I think it is right. Yeah. So what you do is you create, depending on the size of the site that you want to make, and you can randomly determine the site if you want to do that size. I mean, you fill out this. So this is an 8 node string here. So the center nodes, the black nodes, the main function of them is to determine passageway through it. So a node might be like a huge open lobby that if you want to cross across that space, you're going to get observed. You're going to have problems. That ties into the whole, you're trying to avoid being noticed by humans. Or it could be tight passageways, like this is a level like a doctor's office where there's a lot of narrow hallways and you can just move around pretty easily. And then each of the branches that come off the side, which the GM can build in any pattern. You can do a split pattern like that. You could just do a linear pattern. Those are where they're like dungeon rooms, right? So they're filled with stuff. So if you want to move, we had a hospital was prominent in the playtest I did with Dungeons and Dyslexia, and there was a elevator that like an elevator shaft of these black nodes, and you had to have a key card in order to go through them. And you go down to one level, and that's like the research lab level, and all of the stuff, all those rooms were related to medical research. And then there were others that were patient rooms, and there were others that was like the cafeteria, right? So as they moved around the different places, and the GM can just assign things to any of those nodes, or they can roll off tables, which is the next. Yeah, so like you could, those are the branch types, right?
Yeah.
So it could be vacant, it could be a single mortal person, it could be a hazard, it could be another vampire, or any of this stuff. And then the page after this shows this, what's in there. So it could be if there's one mortal by themselves, they could be lost and confused, they could be open and naive, they could be drunk, anything like that. So it's all just being so if they walk in a direction you haven't even thought of yet, you just make a couple of rolls and you're like, there's a drunk guy and there's a mob of gang members that are over here, and there's a werewolf over here, and that one time the guys ran into a place where there was evidence of some kind of magic, but they couldn't figure it out. It was just like a mysterious point, so there's all this kind of support. So as the GM, you don't, if you don't know what's there, you can just boom, you can make it right away.
And same thing. You've got the NPC tables. I love this sort of stuff. Go back
to the origin table. I had no idea what kind of gangs were in this area that we were exploring. So I rolled it, and they ended up having the Australian Mafia as being so you can use the table for anything you need.
That's
right?
awesome.
So I was the first Australian Mafia I'd ever run into.
Yeah, it must have been really easy to take them out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great though. I mean, this is one of the things. The tables in Shadowdark were one of the things that I one of the reasons that I was like, wow, this game actually is awesome, because they're so useful and so concise, and it looks like you've really taken a lot of inspiration from there.
Yes.
And this is awesome. Yeah. Vampire NPCs, not simply NPCs, but do you need, you just rolled a vampire in an area.
Yeah.
What kind of vampire is it? D6, you get the bloodline.
Who rules this neighborhood? Let's just figure it out. Yeah,
exactly. It's very easy to generate these. And we should talk about the bloodlines and classes in just a minute, because, GMs aren't the only people that matter. They are. But the players are going to have to take on the role of vampires in this. And we got rumors. This is the tech type.
That's the tech timeline.
Yeah. So it starts in 1982.
This is really cool. It gives you a touchstone of like what the feel, what's the plausibility of this year.
Right. 1991. This is when the SNES came out. The Apple PowerBook, Linux.
Do you feel old yet?
Yeah. The World Wide Web open to the public. 2012, 4G wireless networks. So it's like you actually, as you're playing, because you're being forced to do some sort of timekeeping night to night, but then things advancing when you're doing the grinding, which is the alternate kind of carousing in this. It's going to advance as you play. After really
your fourth grind, you'll get compact discs.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is something that gets missed invariably in conventional vampire play. And having this in the back of your mind, okay, we're in 1987. These new innovations are now.
My brother was born that year. It was a terrible year.
These things are just becoming available. This other thing, which was invented 2 years ago, is hitting its sort of popularity peak, whatever that might be. That keeps you as the GM immersed in a functional manner, because it's going to inform what other things and what the frequency of those encounters or those complications are going to be. Right. Okay. There's, I don't know, digital cameras or something are available now, or
there's actually, if I remember correctly, disposable camera is on the list.
Yeah.
So when you start out, there are no disposable cameras, but these things, a lot of these things really affect you as a vampire. It's kind of like the joke of if Seinfeld had a cell phone, every single plot of every show would fall apart, because They're all based on people not being able to talk to each other while they're moving about the city, right? So as these communication technologies come online, all sorts of things are going to become problems for you.
Right. And that's also a pretty cool way to do this too, because when you're starting without those problems, the game is appropriately challenged for, a fledgling vampire.
That's right.
Yeah. The world simply becomes more challenging to
world
you.
levels up.
Even though, you're leveling up, the world is leveling up as well. And it's not in a arbitrary, like the monsters are all scaled to your level or anything like that. It's that things are getting, the walls are kind of closing in.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so
And
this
valuables is the way that you advance in this, and the way most people think about like acquiring these valuables, you're usually thinking too low. Most of the stuff that is on the treasure tables will only get you one experience point at the low end, maybe two, three, or three at the higher end. The real way to get XP is to like get someone to have to give you their Lexus because you've screwed them over like a mafia person, and they have to give you the Lexus. Then that counts as XP, right?
Yeah.
So this is all just stuff you can find lying around in the valuables tables. But the real way to get XP is leaning on humans hard for stuff.
Yeah.
And getting big things out of them.
Like an ivory statuette of Roman noblewoman in recline, worth $1,240. This is, and so it keeps the kind of incentive as like treasure for XP, but it really is. Whereas like dungeon crawling, you may be reclaiming lost treasures or raiding tombs. It's like, this is crime.
Straight up theft.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, the secret ingredient is crime.
Yes.
And this is similar to Shadow Dark. You can get secrets and favors and gifts from people as XP giving item.
Yeah. And something like this should be very familiar to vampire players.
Right.
Boons and favors and
Privileges.
tit for tats. Yeah, these things are high denomination social currency.
And then the relic system produces basically high-end magic items doing things that you can't do, like and sometimes it's not a thing that you might immediately see as being useful to you. So like if you're a vampire and you find that there's this guy who has a relic that totally prevents you from using certain types of vampire disciplines when you're around them, that might immediately be like, oh man, that's good. But if you have that relic, you can then take it to a place and like hide it and then lure somebody in there that is going to believe they're super powerful. And then as soon as they get within 50 feet of that item, they lose all their ability to blood buff. And then you attack and beat the shit out of them. So like, it has a whole bunch of items that, could be stuff from the Crusades, stuff from ancient Polynesia, all this different stuff, but each one has, like in Shadow, like a benefit and a curse, and the curse might be strong enough that you try to offload this on somebody else or do whatever. It's just it's a way to add more supernatural things for you to use as weapons or defenses or whatever.
Yeah, I really like that.
So I think we should probably, we started in the middle.
Yeah, we did.
And worked our way to the end. Let's start at the beginning now. Whoops. So the game mastery section, as you can see, starts on page 95 of 238. So that's going to be a shitload of game master's tools, advice, and everything you need to run the game, which is awesome. The player section, however, is what we get at the beginning. And this functions, again, there's some similarities with, it's a D20 system. You're going to have it's be very familiar. Anyone who has played any D&D variant, you're instantly going to know how to do this. There are stats. You roll your D20, you hit or exceed a target number to succeed. Anything else is a failure. But you have all of these other systems in here that are particular to not dungeon crawlers, but to vampires.
Yep. So the stats are different from core D&D stats. We got awareness, cognition, magnetism, physique, quickness, and willpower. And one of the things I did is I've always disliked having ranged attacks and defenses both on dexterity. If it overloads dexterity, it weakens others relative to dexterity. So awareness is where your accuracy and aiming comes from, and also the kind of perception part of wisdom that most people run. And then quickness is speed and reflexes and dodging and getting out of the way of things, avoiding a trap or something. And so by having it on different stats, even when, you know, I've had people, you're just rolling 3d6 in order or not, whatever your choice. Yeah. But as long, you know, every single stat is important. There's no like charisma, because the main way you get killed is by humans. So having a high charisma is type of benefit is huge, right? So magnetism is the social stat. So it's very, very important. And there's no dump stat. There's no stat that sucks. All of them are factored into all of these checks relatively equally.
Which is great, because you can do a physique check and you can tell someone if you're in a contest of strength to post physique, and whoever has the better physique wins.
As it should be.
Yeah, just like real life.
I do that all the time.
Yeah, but there's also excellent advice on role playing here. Like, you don't have to talk in a funny voice or throw around grandiose hand gestures to be in character. It's not an acting class. However, you do need to get inside that imaginary skull. Try to think from the perspective of your character, which is very important and often overlooked, as we've said many times on this channel. But this is all excellent. So you do have classes, though. And I want to know, what's the difference? So obviously this is not anything like Vampire the Masquerade in that you're not doing any sort of a point buy here. How is it that character creation works, and what are the bloodlines and classes, and how do those differ?
Yeah, so bloodline is what you're inherently dealing with from a physical standpoint, what you've inherited from your sire. The class is what you have turned yourself into, in the same way that you know, an elf and a fighter is the same thing. You know, what you are inherently versus what you've learned how to become. So the bloodlines they have two benefits and a drawback. So the drawback, you know, like the lunatic is Malkavian kind of equivalent, right? The drawback is that they can barely remember anything from their human life, which makes it very hard for them to maintain humanity,
interact with humans.
But they get this incredible amount of insight and observation abilities because of those things. The vagrant has ability to be out in the day for some, you know, take half damage, you know, not have a lot of problems. But if they go into a place that's really loud, like a nightclub, it bothers them from being around all the sound and all the people. Right? They want to be isolated. So there's everything comes with a cost. There's no perfect, you know, this is better than others. I've never liked how like some ancestries are clearly better than others, or races, or I use ancestry for Shadow Dark all the time to think about it. But you know, like elves in classic D&D are clearly better than humans in almost every way. Yeah. So every one of these is balanced out against each other. And then the classes are what you are doing in your life, how you're building your unlife. So the autarch is focused on controlling animals and kind of in a classic Transylvanian way. They want all kinds of abilities where they can make changes to themselves, you know, like turn into a mist, turn into a bat, or do that kind of stuff. And then the next one is Butcher, and the Butcher is tank loaded, just tearing up everybody. That's what they focused on building in themselves. Most of their disciplines are focused on improving their own self rather than on affecting other people. Then the next one is expert, which is like a skills technology character. They've been spending their time learning how to do stuff. So they're a hacker, or they're good at gardening kind of thing. They can grow stuff. They can
reverse forensics as well.
Studying academic expertise is the most common thing that they roll on the discipline table. So that they have knowledge and skills.
Right.
Yeah. And
so that's actually something interesting. The disciplines, so you gain these at certain levels. And it's a 2d6 table, so there is going to be 7 is going to be your most common commonly rolled combination of dice. Is there a reason that you wanted a curve on this? Are the tail ends
because
superpowers?
in the middle you have for each class, like this is academic expertise. There's a bunch of different options that you can get even on that result. Like if you go to the next one, the luminary, it's what kind of people are you good at interacting with, and it has a whole bunch of different types. So even if you're rolling 7s every single time, it's still a good result. Okay. And then the things that you can really only get one time, I've moved out to the edges.
Right.
So you're less likely to get them anyway. And if you do get them, then there's kind of you got the paladin finally, you're going to be a fucking badass with this awesome ability and give you, so I like people to roll the dice like hoping for something. Like I want to get, just like when you roll stats, you want to get a really high stat. You don't want it to be 3. So I want every roll to be like, I hope I get snake eyes on this because I really want to gain that really powerful ability. But even if you roll 7, you're still gonna be good. Like if you were a luminary, which is just the social class, right? Toreador type equivalent. If you roll a 7 every time and you get like 3 or 4, that you're going to be super good at interacting with people. Like you're going to have multiple groups of people that are your people and that you will protect you and help you. So there's no like, oh darn, I got a 7 again.
There's no shitty results. Yeah, these are pretty cool too, like a snake form. That's awesome. But yeah, I do like these though too, because the class, they get certain things.
It's because of the watermark. Sorry.
Highlight this, but no, it's okay. But yeah, you get these certain things just by virtue of being this class. You get a bunch of benefits. Then you get a discipline every once in a while as you progress and as you level up. And this actually kind of solves some of the issues, because we were talking about the disciplines in Vampire recently and how trying to neatly fit them all into a 5-dot structure doesn't really end up working very well in practice. And this also provides a little more variation for each character that's generated.
And the thing that I've always loved about Shadowdark is that it totally gets rid of any kind of planning for what your future character will be.
The build.
I need this so that I can qualify for this prestige class or some bullshit like that. Like, no. When my kids were little, we had a book that had a little kids book that said, you get what you get and you don't pitch a fit. Right. And like that, that's what it is. Like you get it. And that's it. You don't have to, if you complain about it, you're a weak person. Sorry.
Yeah. And there's the element of like, I really I dislike the point buy in Vampire, because everyone generally, I mean, you all have the same capabilities, more or less. You get to choose how that gets distributed in your character, but it gets rid of the great thing about rolling up stats, and that I really do like about games in this lineage, is that sometimes you get someone who's fucking awesome at everything, and then sometimes you get some loser. And so it provides variation in the characters, just like the real world is varied in that way. So this is I really, really like this.
The medium is like Auspex type character. They can see a lot of things that other people can't see, like auras and ghosts and stuff like that. But that leaves them kind of weaker on combat and boosting ability. So if a butcher corners the medium or a luminary, they're going to get hosed, you know, there's no way.
Yeah.
So even within the vampires, like the strengths of each character are going to vary widely in the same way that like a wizard versus a fighter, it's not the same thing. Yeah. And then the shadow is like La Sombra, I know it's Nick's favorite.
Yeah, man.
So you can shape the shadows, you can be quiet, you can take on a shadow form yourself and move along. But all of those things have a blood point cost. And if the more you use, there's actually a cumulative timer for the night that adds up, so that like even if you're feeding, if you keep using up blood and refilling, you're going to eventually have a frenzy check that does not go well for you because you've been cycling so much blood through your system.
That is awesome.
And assets works similar to resources, I think they're called in VTM, right? Stuff that's outside of yourself that you can call upon, but it is a insecure thing. You have to make a check. So like if you're trying to get money because you have resources as an asset, you might botch the roll and the ATM machine's broken, the bank thing will work. It's 4 a.m. You can't get the money, right? If you have influence at City Hall and you botch the roll, they're not taking your calls tonight. It's whatever.
Right.
So the longer you wait to get closer to dawn, the GM raises the checks. So like if you're trying to get something done at 2, 3 in the morning,
someone on the phone,
you're screwed.
Nice.
That's awesome.
I love that.
And then touchstones are integral part of the humanity system. So the humanity system ranges from a +3 to a -7. If you drop below -7, you become a NPC, and it gives you a positive bonus to reaction rolls, but the opposite is applied to combat. So if you are a really, really nice person, you're going to not be getting that huge bonus that the monstrous asshole is getting when they go into a fight. And so the touchstones are NPCs that are mortals in the city that you have some kind of connection with. You can only gain a new one when you level up. And so there's kind of they're a finite if you aren't taking care of them and they get killed or injured, whatever, you can't get them back. And when they die, you're losing humanity every time. So there's a strong incentive for you to help take care of these people.
And there's a strong incentive for you to attack other people's touchstones.
Correct.
Should you figure out what they are. Yeah.
And compulsion is kind of what drives you in a quasi-alignment manner. Like this is the thing that comes out of you. It's your kind of inherent feeling about certain things, and the hungrier you get, the more it comes out. So you might be defiant, and when you're pretty well stocked in blood and things are going well, you're just a firm person who's not unmoved. But if you keep getting hungrier and hungrier, you become like a teenage girl who won't agree with anyone about anything, right? So every one of these has kind of not a bad thing. It's manageable when you're full on blood, but when you start to lose blood, you become an asshole in this way, right? Yeah,
this particular way. Yeah.
And then the equipment is run. There's kind of a miscellaneous kind of adventuring type equipment stuff here. And then when you get into weapons, there's ranged weapons, melee weapons, and then weapons that are very hard to get, but very, very good, like flamethrowers.
Illegal weapons. That's awesome.
Hell yeah.
Oh,
no problem.
Sorry.
And just armor is very hard to get. I don't know how many people have been shot at in real life, but armor doesn't help that much. You're soft and squishy. And so the vampire's advantage is that they can heal damage that they're taking. But if somebody walks up and shoots you with a shotgun and you get right back up, then that's a problem.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Right.
Yep.
There's really no way you can get up to, +7 on defense, but that requires you to be wearing like riot gear kit. Yeah. So people are going to notice you if you're running down the street in riot gear.
Right.
Yeah.
And then this is the basic hit point, blood point. So the hit points is your body, and blood points is your blood in your system. And you can transfer basically blood into hit points through a healing mechanism. But if you still have blood and you are reduced to 0 hit points, you go into torpor. And that can be a blessing or a curse, depending on the circumstances, right? And if you get to 0 in both, you're toast, final death. And so you can make feeding checks. They're on the hourly rotation, when you're exploring the city kind of level of strategic level. And so if you're losing blood, you're having to spend time getting that blood back. And if you're playing a more prudent way, that will be a time savings for you.
Every victim has a potency, the total amount of blood points they contain. So what's the limit on your blood points?
That's based on your class, and it is pretty tight. So like Shadow Arc, you are only dealing with maybe 1d8 at first level would be a lot, And so if you're, it's very easy to get below half blood points when you only have 7 blood points.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
So are you rolling that like hit points, or is it like it's your blood point die value?
It's like hit points.
1d8.
You roll it, and then that's how much capacity you have.
You have. Okay. Wow. So you could really be fucked on that.
Yeah.
And frenzy
That's
is
such a good idea to have.
If you're reduced to 0 or you have a natural 1 while you're under half, you have to make a frenzy check. So the more blood you're using, the lower it's getting, and the more that it builds up. There's that expended blood section there. The DC is 5 plus the cumulative total of blood points that you've spent for that night. So the higher it gets, the harder it is for you to deal with this. The more you're
feeding. Yeah. That's great, because that's something that, like, frenzy is something that's so easy to game around in Vampire.
Right.
So this is and this is like a different way. They handle it differently in V5, where they have, the hunger dice, which makes things, you're not necessarily frenzying, but you're having the beast kind of rattling the cage. But this is like, the more vampiric activity that you engage in, it's building up towards that no matter what, basically.
Yeah.
That's
and
awesome.
If you fail the frenzy roll while you're at the hunger compulsion, which is that you're really low on blood, you have to make a derangement check, and it's not really a check in the sense, like, you can't win it. You're rolling it and you're getting whatever this is. So you could end up with most of these are permanent conditions, and then you have to get rid of them by grinding, which pushes your time envelope at the same time. So the more that this happens to you, you're going to be spending time trying to get rid of it and dealing with it as a problem.
Yeah. So we've got feeding habits, more random character generation.
Yep.
I want to talk about that. You were talking about that, though, where's the carousing system here? Where's grinding? Let's find that.
There it is.
Grinding. Here we go. So explain to us how grinding works. So this is like
there's like a monetary cost, because you're taking time out to focus on something else. So you have to pay the bills. And then the more money you put into that, the more kind of time you'll have to be working on these things. So that gives you the bonus on the grinding bonus table. And then every character is choosing a focus. That's what they're working on. And you have a territory like we've talked about. So if somebody, maybe if you get really powerful, multiple people aren't focusing on vigilance and protecting your domain, then while this time is passing, other vampires will be predating on your territory until you come back and the GM is like, well, you've lost control over this point of interest now because nobody was there to defend it. But then the other ones are all things that you are going to want, like getting a new asset, getting rid of some derangement, spending time protecting a touchstone to get humanity back, learning new skills. So like if you, like in a lot of stuff in Shadow Arc, it's just like you're good at this thing, so you get advantage. So if you want to tell the GM, I'm going to spend this time working on learning how to pick locks, because that's been a problem for us. Nobody knows how to pick locks.
Yeah.
Then at the end of the grind, if you're successful, now you figured out how to pick locks. You're going to get advantage on picking locks. And then the outcome could be failure. Like if you get a 1, it can actually fail. So you failed to learn how to pick locks. And then I think 2 is also failure. Fail.
Yeah, concerns fails to achieve your focus. If this happens for vigilance, the coteries domain will come under threat.
Yeah. So there's all kinds of consequences as well for whatever it is, including positive consequences as you get higher up on the table. Right. So but like I say, it moves time forward. So if you are choosing to do this, like one of the things even in Shadow Dark, to be critical is people can carouse so much. There's not really, unless the GM is enforcing it, there's no real cost to taking a few days to drink your life away in the bar. You don't get liver disease or anything. So there's no consequence. But here, like making this decision will move time forward, and that might not matter that much when you're level 1, 2, 3, whatever. But as you're getting further down the timeline, that could be 3 months, could be a lot of time to you. You have to say, do I really want to spend this time doing it?
Yeah, this is a great way to like support and convey these more, even if they aren't considered, or you don't think about them as being long-term activities per se. In conventional Vampire, a lot of this stuff would be relegated to a scene. Right? Yeah. Maybe a couple of scenes over a couple of nights, possibly. But this, it fixes these character motivations to something else, which should be paramount in a vampire game. And it isn't even one I would have thought before talking to you about this, but it is. The city, humanity, and time continues to move forward. Hunger and the passage of time are really two core aspects of playing a vampire. Both of them are usually ignored into irrelevancy, but I really like this.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, one of the things that Adrian's crew tried to do was get a refrigerator and start stealing blood to store it. So then I had to look up what would be, you can only keep blood fresh for a certain amount of time before it goes bad. So I had to look that up and put it in the game and be like, no, you can't keep your blood on ice forever and be good.
My 900-year-old blood.
Yeah.
Blood wine.
I've had it in the deep freeze for a very long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is like the systems are very simple, but there's a lot of depth here. And I'm gonna switch this back so we can we could see you
Okay.
again.
Yeah.
There we go.
This is not something I ever would have thought to do with
Right.
Vampire, and it's not something I ever would have thought that Shadow Dark could do so well.
Right.
It's completely outside of my awareness. In terms of like how would I make Vampire better, or you know, how would I convert them?
Yeah.
It's wild. That
Yeah,
doesn't
there's a lot-
doesn't often happen.
Yeah.
It's a testament to how good this is.
There's a lot of depth to this, and it was. I really want to know, like, not to just do the meme, but where do you get your ideas from? You know, like how do you come up with this stuff? Because this, like, our products tend to be very character focused and on motivations and schemes, and you really seem to have a huge knack for this sort of system stuff. And you've written so many books in such a short amount of time, and they're all really good, which is evidenced by the success that they've had on Drive Through RPG.
Well, there's two answers. One is methylphenidate. It's very useful. I didn't realize I was spending most of my life as a undiagnosed ADD, not AD, because I'm not hyperactive or anything. I'm just a absent-minded professor, right? And so I just thought that was just me. And my brother started taking it. He's a lawyer, and he said this is like massively helped me. And I was like, oh, all right, let's check it out. And right away I was like, this is perfection. I just to give you a sense, like I started taking it maybe 2 or 3 weeks before I started writing Shadow Sun. And then Shadow Sun just boom, right out of my head.
Flowed out.
Yeah. So being able to sit down and actually like, okay, I don't have to do anything else for work today. I'm going to sit down and do this instead of getting distracted by video games or whatever. You know, it gives you a sense of I can make myself do the things I want to do. So it's similar to like, you know, if you're overweight person, you might not want to intellectually eat the thing, but you're like, I need to eat this thing, right? But that's what it frees me from, is that I can do whatever. And then the second thing is that my method is to do layout first. So I learned how to do layout for work over 10 years ago now, and the work stuff, even though you might be working on something at a very high professional level, the innovation going on is very low because these guys have very rigorous standards. Even if you get a contract with Fortune 500 company, you're not going to be like innovating for them. They're going to send you a PDF that says, here's the exact PMS color to use for every single thing. You can't do this, you can't do that, blah, 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 right? So there's no real way to innovate there. But on the D&D side, I could just innovate constantly in every so I've learned more skills doing role-playing game writing than I have. Work just got me in the door, so to speak. And what I do is I'll develop the trade dress for whatever it is. These are the fonts, this is the layout of each page, and I'll make test pages of maybe there's 8 different kinds of page layouts, and go through that and build that out. And while I'm doing that, I'm adding to an outline of whatever it is that's going into the product. And sometimes the outlining phase alone could be like 6 months of lead to just, I'm sitting around at a doctor's office and I have an idea, so I put it into my phone and whatever. And once it's really ready to start actually working on this particular thing, I go and I just keep adding pages in InDesign and say, this is the page for stats, this is the page for this class, this is the page for that class, or whatever. And I build all the layout. So like for ShadowCity, there's all these discipline tables that at one point were empty. And so as I'm going through each part of the book, whatever I'm inspired to be writing that moment, I'm working on that. But I can be like, in the middle of that, I can be like, oh, here's an idea for a discipline. And then I'll just go back to that page and just write it in there, right? And then I'll go back and do it. So the layout is there whenever I'm ready for a particular thing. It's not being built in a linear way like a novel, right? Everything is being built simultaneously on all these different threads. It looks like this second Death Star, like it's all being put together at once. And then that means it also all comes together to a close relatively rapidly. But it helps me avoid writer's block, because if I can't think of another discipline, I just move on to the next section that I do have an idea for. So any kind of blocker, to use like a corporate language, like we can't move forward on this project because we didn't get Nick's email about blah, 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 anything like that, I'll just jump to the next thing, whatever the section is. So if I can't figure out how I'm going to do a particular thing because I don't have an inspiration for it, or mechanically I don't know what I'm doing, I'll just skip that. I'll just move on to the next thing. And by doing that, you get to most of the book being written before you start getting down to the things that you can't figure out yet. And then that leads to a period where you have to really grind through the end to get that. But it's much easier to force yourself to do that when the book's 95% of the way there. Whereas if you're trying to grind your way through that when you've got 5% of the book there, you'll just walk, right? So that's to me, that's the system. It's making it so that I have just a ton of boxes to fill in, and every time I think of an idea, it goes in the box. Wherever it goes, it doesn't have to all be built in the right order.
Yeah, that's actually fairly similar to how we write as well, come to think of it, because everything does start as outlines, notes, and that develops into, okay, this is a section, this is a character, this, and by the time that all of the notes are compiled, and this is even how we write our YouTube videos, once you have all of that, then it's very easy to actually sit down and write that into something. And we have similar things. This was a big, both the Shucked Oyster and Colts of Zahak for us, where we're having like these big character networks, and we'd come to a blocker with some character and be like, okay, we can't figure that out, switch over to this other one. And we'd work on that, and that sometimes would generate other ideas that would come in and fix some other part of it. So yeah, it's like this kind of inside out. It all comes together, but at the very end, and the only difference I think is now our layout is different, where it's like the layout also comes together at the end.
Well, do you guys do your own layouts, or I thought you did. I really encourage people to figure out how to do it yourself, because my thing I normally advocate in this industry is I really think that it is possible to make a reasonable amount of income in RPGs. The problem is you have to be doing a lot of the things that you might be tempted to outsource. So you need to do art direction. You need to do layout design. You need to do these things. And people are like, well, I don't really feel like doing that. I was like, well, then you won't be successful. Like if somebody's like, I don't really feel like shooting free throws, well, then you will not be a great basketball player. Like that's the way it is. I don't care. That's Earth. So figuring out how to do these things on your own is a massive win. Putting together, being able to use public domain art and take it into Photoshop and clean it up will save you, $75 a piece for everything that you use. If it's a big piece. A lot of those full page chapter break illustrations are public domain art that has been adapted in Photoshop. It's not, paying for full page art is very expensive, but there are a lot of kind of low quality public domain photography of city streets and with the lamplight and everything that looks like it could be a vampire image. And you can take that,
Yeah.
There's all kinds of illustrations from old, you've talked about before, from a encyclopedia in the 1850s, and you can use the same. It's still a line art drawing.
Yeah.
Exactly. We used a lot of public domain for Cults of Zahak, and it ended up being perfect because it was the perfect tone and exactly what we wanted, and it just happened to also be some of the greatest art that's ever been made by human beings.
Dürer, I think you had, right?
It can also look nice. Yeah, Albrecht Dürer. So you have to wear every hat essentially when you're making RPG stuff to be able to make any money. That's the thing. Like we've seen some projects where it's like they have like 10 people contributing,
and they may be making a lot of money on their Kickstarter, but
it's like
that's not all going
divide
home.
that by 10.
That's right.
And it's not. Yeah, and then there's other expenses associated with it, and all of these other things. But the biggest, and I'm sure that this is probably the same for you. The thing that you're going to be lacking more than money on these projects is time. It's just time. That is the master resource of everything. But this is a really, really cool project. And like I said, it's things that we never would have come up with. Like the thing about the apocalypse timer is so brilliant because it takes that end of the world, and not only does it make it, first of all, more believable and realistic, but it puts humans in a very centrally important place in the game.
Right.
And that's something that tends to get lost in other vampire games. And I really, really like the simplicity of just roll 3d6 down the line and make a character very quickly.
Oh yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah, this reorients all the things that end up getting missed, which are actually supposed to be thematically the most important things to bear in mind or to keep at the forefront of the roleplay experience. And you can probably even toy with this to make this, you play it straight just like the Shadow Dark mechanic, or maybe you do want something that's more like a VTM experience where you're getting into the night by night, and things take longer, but having these random encounters, having these run-ins with the mortals, and having compounding problems from rivals and from passersby, or other weird shit that goes bump in the night, that keeps things moving. Even if you didn't want to have the apocalypse timer, let's say, be as much of a burning wick that you're trying to outrun, I would imagine this would still run perfectly, smoothly.
There's a system in there for factions that it can. Vampire Clans is the vampire version of the factions, but the FBI is a faction, the military is a faction. And you can. It's not essential. I didn't want to make it so that it's a required thing that the GM has to make, because that's again added GM load. It's just a pure optional thing. But they just have to create a shared discipline to give to all faction members, and then they can run whatever. So everybody in the FBI has this set of core skills that they all have, and that makes them better than a default police officer. You can just use the officer in the opponent section. There's an officer that's a mortal. Basically, it's a mortal monster. And you could just add disciplines to it to create FBI, and you could add different disciplines to create ATF or CIA or whatever, and put those guys in there, and then you're kind of like, when somebody makes a mutation to a monster for their own D&D game, these are Aarakocra that have this special magic ability, or like, okay. But it's not a required thing. All the stuff that's there is so that the GM can just run it with no prep, anything. Just here you go. This is the way it's supposed to work.
Yeah. This makes me want to run Vampire again.
Yeah.
When I get Shadow City, I think I will.
Yeah.
But Nick, you could
So
make
we're
a
gonna go
world
through
where
and
there's
some
only La Sombra and
Yeah.
what
Well,
was
we're
the
gonna-
other
we're
one
gonna
that
do
was
We're gonna
your
make the world
that was
better.
you really liked besides La Sombra? I couldn't remember what your second place one was. I remember it came up in one of our conversations, but I can't remember it now.
Yeah, my second place shifts with the phases of the moon.
I know it's not Ravnos.
That's definitely
Fuck
not.
no.
We're,
Yeah.
those guys are dead.
Stupid
As,
fucking clan.
for those of
Yeah.
you who were here on our Fixing Vampire live streams,
This
Ravnos
is,
suck.
So we're gonna go through. We got some super chats we got to address
Awesome.
here. We had someone
we got it.
initially saying, "Keep doing what you're doing. Loved your vampire stuff and best Mass Effect video since Mr. B Tongue."
Thank you.
Cool.
We will.
Doc Flamingo stepping in saying, "Yes, yes. Witnesses need dealing with."
So true.
Not a vampire player, but seems to me it could use a heavy hitter antagonist outside of other vampires jockeying for position.
Werewolves.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I think we probably scrolled through some of it, but there's an entire section of other antagonists
Yes.
that are, you have mortals, you have vampires, you've
There's
got
bad things out there.
mages, all sorts of different kinds of monsters and weird shit that you can run into as well. So the game, it does include a sort of bestiary.
Yes.
Let's see here. Andrew McGraw. Imagine two vamp rivals running out of time, having to hide from the sun in the same lair. You're in your coffin, vulnerable. Nemesis, 3 coffins down.
Yes. Or like the end of that Babylon 5 episode where Londo and Jakar are stuck in the elevator.
And then James, I can't see what the rest of the name is because it's cut off. Why do you think games need an ending? I think they do, but would like to hear your reasoning, as it sounds like you agree.
Yeah,
I don't think every game needs an ending.
I don't know that every game needs an ending, but part of the whole apocalypse timer structure comes from board games like Pandemic, Shadows over Camelot. This is a great game where there's just a mechanic that prevents it from turning into Monopoly. And the reason why I think that is useful, definitely not for every game. I wouldn't use it in an Acts 2 game or whatever. But, you know, the thing that it does is it gives, even if there's kind of a dissatisfaction by one player or whatever, it's a knowledge that the campaign's not going to go on forever. And it lets people kind of plan out, okay, well, we're going to play this game for 6 months, and at the end of the 6 months, the timer is going to run out. So it lets you end the campaign early, do whatever you want, and have a plausible ending to the campaign, rather than it being, oh, well, we just ended it while they were walking through the woods towards the next town, and that's the end of the whole campaign.
Just sort of fizzled.
So it gives you ability to close it whenever you're ready.
Yeah.
And mark it off. And I think you guys have talked a couple of times. I know it talks about a lot on X or whatever, because the average game set, like, campaign for people lasts a relatively short amount of time. It also, I think, helps people stick it out if they're already at timer 5, they'll be like, let's see this through to whatever and move forward on that. So there's that kind of, it works both ways. I've never had a campaign that I've run personally end on a hard timer outside. This is the first game that I feel like makes sense to do. Like, it doesn't make sense that my Shadow Dark character is just going to all of a sudden get murdered in the woods for no reason. But 4,000 orcs come out of the woods and murder everybody. But the whole premise of the game is that the humans are relentlessly ready to murder you, and you're a parasite. You're not a hero in this story.
Yeah. Imagine like you were playing a behind enemy lines game where you can't get back home.
Yeah.
Or again, you're a vampire. You're pushing your luck every single night. Or think about Call of Cthulhu. Call of Cthulhu doesn't have an explicit apocalypse timer, but it's typically built into your character sheet with your sanity and your hit points. A mortal investigator does not have the ability to heal from bullet wounds or attacks from Shoggoths, and certainly very limited ability to quell the disquiet of delving into things you shouldn't be.
So we have a question. Are vampires weak to crosses or just right angles or something else?
I left a lot of that open to the GM in terms of special vampire weaknesses. The only thing that's really rigorously enforced is if you get staked, and how that works. But there is an Inquisitor and a Fanatic in the opponents section, and they have kind of holy abilities to hurt you. There are also angels in the opponent section that can really fuck you up. And there are demons who can also really fuck you up, because you're not the only bad thing that's out there. So if you get in the way of the plan of a corruptor demon, they could just take you out. This guy's a problem.
It probably will.
And the best part is you don't need 500 pages of lols, an entire
That's
system.
Right.
Sly Blue Demon saying, just tuned in. Love your axe setting, Chubby.
Awesome.
Let's see here. Looking for more questions. Can you comment on some of the personal horror elements?
There is following a Shadow Dark pattern on the opponents that I'm giving you kind of a light description of what they look like. And most of what the people do is left to the GM, so if it's, this is an owlbear, it's up to the GM to describe the owlbear rips you apart versus it hits you for 8 damage. But a lot of the encounters have either a horror or almost like more like a gray morality standpoint. So like you walk up to a situation where there's a gangster who's murdering an innocent person. Well, like the D&D person in you might be like, oh, I'm going to save this innocent person, but you're a vampire. Like you're fine with either of them. So you can benefit from the blood of either one of these people. One doesn't have to live. So it introduces a lot of things like that. In the airport district, I can't remember the exact encounter, but there's one where there's like a Soviet defector that has stuff. Like, do you care about Soviets versus United States? Like, maybe not. Maybe just murder the Soviet. Maybe you take him to the embassy and try to bargain him into XP in terms of a reward that you get paid. It becomes up to you. So I generally think that the players should initiate stuff and the GM should respond how they feel it would actually be given the limitations of the setting. So if you start chopping off the hands of everybody that crosses you, then the GM's reaction should be, that's gonna bring the pain back on you enormously, because there's going to be
the serial killer. Who's
there's going to be disaffected people. There's going to be disturbed people, and then if the GM has a protagonist, it really behooves them to make them fearsome. And if you are a powerful vampire, one of the ways to make them fearsome is to have them be doing stuff that's permanently long-lasting horrific shit. And so if that like you can't regenerate, so if they cut off your hand, you are now a handless vampire, right? Like you don't want
terrible fate.
You're much less afraid of a serial killing human than a hand cutting off human, because the hand cutting off human could really F you up. It could screw up your life, The serial killer, you might get into a fight, but
Yeah.
you know, they're not going to cut off my head. It's not going to be that big of a deal.
Slime88 asks, he says, this looks really cool, but I always thought Shadow Dark's real-time stuff was kind of an annoying gimmick. Is there support for abstract time?
Well, you could run it however you want. The hourly time thing is a structure to help the GM. So
yeah,
if the players say, I'm going to go hunting for somebody to get blood points back, then knowing that that's going to take an hour and you can mark that forward on however you're keeping track of time, that helps you. If you want to be like, that takes 15 minutes, rock on. That's no problem. How long does it take for you to patrol the whole neighborhood and make sure that there's nobody edging in on your territory? Well, you can just go with however many hours I say it takes, or you can say it takes 3 hours in this neighborhood because it's a big neighborhood, or whatever. That's totally up to you. And just like there's tons of people, I'm absolutely sure, who run Shadow Dark and do not do always on initiative and don't keep track of things by rounds and do all this stuff. That's fine. That structure is there for people who don't want to have to be making those decisions constantly, and they just want a time structure to stick with.
Yeah.
Now, if I was running a Bronstein 1-to-1, and yes, I would be absolutely rigorous, but that's up to you. However you want to run it.
Yeah, I found the real-time stuff to actually be great. Like I like the torch timer better than tracking it on dungeon turns, because I forget to do that. And setting a timer on my phone. I found
always on initiative with Shadow Dark to be very useful for preventing parties from getting separated, because if I move 10 squares in this direction and you move 10 squares in that direction, then now we're 20 squares apart, and if there's a fight, it's going to take me time to get over there. So having that structure in place, at first you might be like, that's stupid to have always on. Like, no, it really changes, and it can make the game easier in a way that you might not anticipate. Just like rolling for initiative and then not ranking everybody, but just saying the highest roll goes first, and then we go clockwise from that person. It might only save you 30 seconds or a minute in a particular instant, but by the end of the night, by the end of the campaign, you're talking significant amounts of time that you spent trying to figure out whether Bob's on a 16 and who's on a 15 and who's on 12. That takes up time.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just easy. Get rid of the cognitive load, Let's see here. Looking for more. Can you play Vampire Hunters?
There are Vampire Hunters in the opponent section. So just in the same way you could make a party of all bugbears in D&D and just give them the stats for bugbears and be like, you're bugbears now. The same thing. There's not an advancement structure. There's not a character creation system for Vampire Hunters. I'd be happy to see somebody write that as a third-party thing. That's totally fine with me. There's a guy in my Saturday night game who's working on a werewolf rules for character creation, rather than right now the werewolf is just I can't remember if it's level 8 or level 10. I think it's level 10. Like, just
it's a powerful,
incredibly powerful monster, beholder level monster. But he's working out like a system for running all of these things so that you could build your own werewolf. And I've never been into werewolf as much as he is, so I say, hey, go for it.
Yeah.
I already have way too many things that I want to do. So if somebody has ideas for things that they want to do, awesome. That's cool. Yeah. Make a hunter's rule set.
This person says, this book looks well laid out. Are we really sure it's a book about vampires? Must be referring to the 5th edition layout.
Yeah, the not good layout.
Requiem is the worst for me. The red font in the subheaders, it's like cursive and red, and it's very thin. Oh God, I hate that font.
My hardcover for Colts as a Hawk showed up today. Nice. Very
Hell yeah,
happy
man.
with it. Damn, that was quick. It took us
Forever.
over 3 weeks to get our second proof copy. Like it was like 24 days or something absurd, to get that in our hands. It's so irritating. But I'm glad you got yours.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and this is the other thing for you guys out there in the chat. The Shadow City's done.
Yes, it's done.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's done.
I have
So,
it. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's already been proofed. So basically, when the check clears from Kickstarter, the codes will go out. This is correct me if I'm wrong. This is a print on demand that you're doing through
Yes.
drive-through.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So it'll be
Nice.
the at cost copy if you're getting in print. I think it's $20 to get it at the PDF level.
That's right. And then whatever the way that it is set up with on demand anyway, there's costs I can't control.
Yeah.
So all
Yes.
I'm saying is the part that I can control is the $20 for Chubby Funster. Then you get the coupon to do at cost for soft cover and at cost for hardcover.
Yep.
And if you want, you could just pay me the 20 and never print anything. That's up to you.
Mhm.
But if you want to print it, those are costs that I can't control anyway. So
Yep.
you'll get the coupon, you go to drive-through, you pay what it costs $7 to print the soft cover right now, I think, and you pay whatever the shipping is, and the shipping could be really low. I mean, some people, it depends on how far away you are from whatever the drive-through downline partner is. Adrian said in the UK he gets his stuff within a week, 2 weeks.
It's
Damn.
crazy.
And
Yeah.
it's great. It's much longer for both of us. So
Yeah.
I don't
What
know
is-
if he's like right next to the freaking distribution
I
center
don't
up
know
there
what it
or
is
what.
either.
They have to have something.
We sent him when we sent him a copy of the Shucked Oyster. It was shipped to him 3 days after I placed the order. I was
Oh
like,
God damn!
what? Yeah, I was like, that's
That
not
is
fair.
bad.
Yeah, and then I'm not sure if his Colts has shipped yet, but that one's taken over a week at least. So at least there is some justice in this world. But yeah, it's the game is done. This is there's no taking the money and running anything like that. There's not major delays that are going to happen. You're going to get it real quick.
Yeah, man.
The only delay will be this is the first time I've ever received something from Kickstarter as a list and then gone to drive-through and attached all the coupons. So however long it takes me to figure out that, I'm like 30 minutes maybe,
Mhm.
then you'll get the stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
right away.
Yeah, man.
All right, let's see here. I'm looking for the next. Do they do chat responses? Yes, we're doing it at the end this time. Thank you guys for letting them in on that.
Yeah, usually we're interacting with you guys, but we've got a favored guest.
This guy says, how do you enforce that while running? That must have been something that we were talking about earlier. I'm
forgotten
sorry
about.
that we, yeah.
Don't recall.
Let's see here. Do you have to get blood from live subjects, or can you frenzy feast inside of a bloodmobile?
If you frenzy, you have to have a live
Asking the deep
subject in the same way that your dog will chase a tennis ball but not a rock. So you have to have, it has to be a living subject, but you can drink from blood bags. They just have a limited shelf life, and if you don't refrigerate it, it's a very short shelf life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What happened to my
But
blood?
that reason was why they ended up at the hospital a lot in the playtest for Adrian's group, is because they bought a fridge and they were like, well, we can just start running into the hospital and start robbing everything. And other vampires also thought of that.
Apparently, our audio is out of sync with us, but Chubby's fine.
Oh,
I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's just,
Looks
it's
fine
just
to
the
me,
way it
but
is. Yeah.
whatever that's worth.
Do we have rules for stuff like money laundering, trafficking, and other stuff?
That any kind of how would the humans react to you doing a particular thing, I for the most part try to leave that to the GM. But if you have a haven and you're just bringing in tons of money and you end up getting a bar and you're running all this stuff, if you don't pay your taxes, you're going to get Wesley sniped.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So the GM would just need to enforce that. You know, if you're keeping 12 people chained up in your basement and somebody finds out that that's what you did, then the FBI is going to have words. You know, you're going to have big problems.
Yeah, those 12 people haven't paid their taxes.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Taxes are very important to the government.
Doc Flamingo says paying for art is also very risky. You never know what you'll get or if you'll end up getting anything at all. If you're just working with people you don't know, then that might be the case. I have heard some people who've been burned by artists. I've also heard of artists being burned by people not paying them. You know, but if you, it's like this is what we always tell people. Go on YouTube, make videos. You will get friends with other creators and things like that and other artists. All of the artists that we have worked with, like the Basic Expert, Patty's Parlor, who I think I saw in the chat earlier. Let's see, who else have we worked with? Someone who just reached out to us out of the blue, Joe Porchio. Everybody's been fantastic to work with. Marcus Whelan, who's doing, Dane. Marcus Whelans, who's doing the maps
Awesome
for Bloodmore.
maps.
Awesome maps. We have not had any problems with anyone.
Rob Necronomicon is the only guy that I actually commissioned stuff for this. He has a lot of vampire stuff on stock art already on drive-through, and so I reached out to him and commissioned custom pieces like the classes, stuff that I needed to look a particular way on a particular page, and he was great to work with.
Nice. The Apocalypse Timer is one of the coolest elements, and I agree with that.
I agree as well.
The Apocalypse Timer is what wakes me up for work in the morning.
Hear ya. Fuck the ATF.
Yeah. This is the great use of a timer. I wish Morkborg had put more thought like this into their end of the world type timer.
Oh yeah, that has an end of the world thing as well.
Couldn't tell you. I've never read Morkborg.
I've never looked at it. The graphic design is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Ravnos are not a good fit with the rest of the lore, but why do people hate them so much? Because they're
gypsies.
They're gypsies. Filthy gypsies.
Yeah. What more reason do you need?
Ravnos we got some Ravnos lovers in here.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. Just getting in. So this is specifically different than VTM or VTR. Yes.
Yes. This is using. It is a self-contained game. You do not need Shadow Dark or anything else.
But it takes some of the design principles of Shadow Dark and tweaks applies them to this kind of modern horror setting, and has a whole bunch of extra innovations on top of that. So very different system than you're going to be looking at with Vampire the Masquerade or Vampire the Requiem.
Yeah.
There's no giant lore associated with it, but this is a very intense, basically like underworld crime, turf war, blood war going on in secret. That it's live fast, die hard, I think.
Hell yeah.
Bum bum bum. People discussing the Ravnos. USA, exactly.
There we go. That's the ticket.
Really good to hear about this project. I hope to get a physical copy for inspiration. Not a Shadow Dark player, but great to see the success of Chubby Funster.
Indeed.
Thank you, Todd.
And Chubby Funster also, I think, has the best logo out there.
Yeah.
It's just
exactly.
it's like I think of Uncle Buck. It's like your uncle give you. Go get.
I've had people tell me that it's like the Fonz, but that's like totally before my time. I've seen like 3 episodes of Happy Days.
Yeah.
And it was a picture I took in front of the Independence Hall in Philadelphia.
Oh.
My wife pointed the camera at me, and I was like, "Bah," you know.
So taken directly in the darkness.
Yeah, I just photoshopped it into black and white.
Don't ever change it. That's great.
Yes, this is a level-based system, not point buy. So go check out. We covered all that earlier in the video. You'll get a look at the inside of the contents of the book as well. It is a Shadow Dark supplement. Not quite. This is a Shadow Dark inspired game.
Yes.
Yeah. That was one of the things that I worked out with Kelsey at North Texas. Was I wanted to make sure that I wasn't stepping on her toes in any way.
Yeah.
And doing everything. I was like, whatever you want me to tag onto it, say this is the her IP, whatever. But we went through it together, and she thought everything was fine. And there's a few things that I know to avoid already. I talked to her all the way back in the Shadow Sun came out, working out different things. Like in Shadow Rim, there's a homage to her in anybody plays Skyrim. There's the Eye of Magnus is a whole quest in the College of Winterhold.
Yeah.
And so I made the Eye of Magnus into an arcane eye that had some homages to her.
Yeah.
And I wanted to make sure she was okay with the way that I did it, and we worked that out. So all that it's not the Shadow Dark supplement. It's not dependent on Shadow Dark in any way. It's its own whole thing, and I think that we're gonna see more of that in the future, because people have recognized that this system really works in solving a lot of problems.
Yeah. Because that's the thing, is it's not like some revolutionary take on D20 fantasy mechanics or anything like that, but there's enough kind of unique elements and pieces in it that all work to get together that it produces a pretty unique experience with that game. And the generative tools that it has really are very good, and the layout and the formatting on that and keeping it so concise was awesome. And so
I remember the moment I was sold on it was I got the PDF from the first time and I copied it to my phone. I do a lot of reading on my phone.
And you could read it.
And I opened the file on my phone.
Yeah.
And I was like, sold. The end. This is the way to go.
Yeah.
Because I could read it without having to pinch and zoom and pinch and zoom and slide over and back and forth. It was perfect. I was like, this is it. I'm sold. Yeah. Even the stuff I made for Axe, I used a font and a layout that would be big enough that I could read it on my phone.
Yeah, that was one of the things we were looking when we laid out Cults of Zahak. We were like, we could do the font around the same size as the Mithras book, but I have a hard time reading it sometimes because it's very small. Yeah. So I do appreciate a properly sized font for my aging eyes. Much respect to Chubby for having it completely done before the Kickstarter starts.
Yeah, man.
I just can't deal. I cannot stomach the anxiety of owing people things.
Yeah.
I hate it. I hate it. And everything I ever produce will be done when I say I'm ready to sell you this. Yeah.
That's the best way to do it. We did that with the Shucked Oyster. And these other two projects were already well in motion by the time we kickstarted, but it's a large task to do.
Yeah.
And so again, it's extremely impressive, not only the volume of what you put out, but the fact that it's all really fucking good. It's like let's see here. I give Pinnacle a ton of credit. Most of their stuff is written before the Kickstarter goes live. Then they let the players do some testing before everything is finalized.
Nice.
Yeah. Not even vampires can mess with the IRS. Al Capone was arrested for not paying taxes.
That is true. Did we miss that super chat?
Yeah,
yes, we did.
That's online father figure super chat.
Yeah. $5 USD. Chubby Funster refused to take my money at North Texas and gave me his own son's copy of Terra Invictus. Big props. He makes great stuff. Yeah. Terra Invictus is another really cool one too, because that's another huge hex map where every single hex is keyed and has its own random encounter tables. It's really wild. Like, I don't know how you come up with all. It's not. I understand how creativity works, but it's like the way that you've kind of packaged things and come up with these kind of novel ideas is very interesting to me, and because it's stuff I just would have never occurred to me to do something like that.
It didn't occur to me until it was in process. The Terra Invictus stuff was written for my OSR game, Ambition and Avarice. And the plan was just to convert it to Shadow Dark. That was it. And the thing that I had done in the Ambition and Avarice version was just create an icon system for managing the information, because as a GM, I hate it when I'm moving to either a hex or a dungeon room or whatever that I wasn't expecting to go to, and I'm trying to read this information as quickly as possible, and it's not organized in a way that is easy for me to read, like really, really fast.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I'll say this about Caverns of Thracia, because it is one of the greatest modules of all time. So it can take me picking on it. But there's rooms where it goes in and it describes the whole room, and then at the end, and it goes, oh, and there's 2 whites, like right there. You're like, that should have been right at the top. You know, I should not have described the whole room and then been like, oh yeah, and there's a white standing right next to you. Like, holy crap, that sucks.
Yeah, man.
And so I made this icon system, and then when I started doing it into the Shadow Dark thing, I was watching a lot of solo play videos, because I had never even really heard of solo play before that much. And I realized that these icons could create a stack flow for processing it, like you're processing computer code. You know, run this first, then this, then this, then this. Yeah. And you could have checks between the icons and this stuff. And I was like, holy shit. And it ended up taking me way longer to make that than I anticipated, because I thought it was just going to be a conversion, just copy paste and make some adjustments. And I ended up building out this whole way of doing the solo play just because it occurred to me as I was doing it. Like, I wish I had had that idea just on its own, but I think doing the work helps you find those things, though.
Yeah.
Let me make sure we haven't missed any super chats here.
Oh, good call. What's going on there?
Stop that. Oh my God. I hate technology. There we go. James says, not talking about the grind mechanic, but a lot of the game seems very grindy, and many players I know will say grinding is for video games, not for tabletop RPGs.
Well, grinding doesn't actually require player time.
That's right.
It's unlike
more of
playing
a flavorful,
MMOs. Yeah,
a flavorful word for describing it.
I think of it more like Wall Street. You know, we're doing the daily grind to get through a particular thing. You know, like you're doing it like in a business sense. Like, I got to grind through this for 3 months, and then we'll have a product or whatever.
Right.
So it's just a term.
Yeah,
you know, it's actually an abstracting, very quick process.
Yeah, and it's if you are talking about this in a video gaming sense, you're not grinding in this, like, you're not beating monsters and beating up people and getting experience for that. It's
I need
do specific
427
things.
More hobo corpses.
Yeah.
I need to fight 400 more bums to get to
the XP system is structured for you to do. You're optimized to do as incentivized, I guess, the right word, to do as little as possible. You know, if you go out and
do high value heists,
if the first night you find a rich guy and force him to sign over his McLaren, you're gold. You know, that's great. Now, will you run into a undefended rich guy who is happy to sign over his McLaren? Probably not.
Yeah, but it's possible.
Yeah.
We are we're coming up. This flew by. This is it's almost 10:30.
Indeed.
Is there anything about the game or the book or any of your products or anything that you want to talk about before we wrap up?
Well, I found out a few hours ago that you have to put these, you have to get in a queue and wait forever. It's like 3 months before, and you never know when it's going to come up when you put it in. But the GM companion is going to be the deal of the day tomorrow on drive-through at 11 a.m. Eastern time, 10 Central. So it'll be kicked off half price, front page of the site. So if you're interested in that, I've had tons of great feedback, way more than any other product. Incredibly strong feedback, positive feedback. So if you want to pick it up for half price, also in the Kickstarter, there are 6 of my products that will be add-ons to your pledge that you can get at half price also. And if we get the funding level high enough, I'm going to start giving out free POD coupons for a bunch of my products. So like the $10,000 one is Player Companion. So if we get to 10,000, everybody will get a free hardcover Player Companion coupon.
Which means that for those of you who've never done this, you basically get a code, through drive-through for an at-cost copy, which means that you have to pay to have it printed. It's just whatever that fee is based on the page count and blah, blah, blah.
We can't reduce that cost.
Can't reduce that cost. That's something that's out of control.
Out of the creator's hands.
Yeah, but you'll be able to get it significantly reduced than the retail price.
Yeah, and one thing that particularly nefarious people might want to do here is if you've ever wondered what the prices are for that part of the component on drive-through and how much is being an upcharge. Like, there's people ask me this kind of questions about how it works all the time. Like, those prices are published on drive-through in terms of how much page count adds up to what and whatever. Like
the cost calculator.
It's freely available.
For years, some creators have prices where I'm like, I don't understand how they're even setting these, but like, how did they come to this decision? But for me, it's always been whatever the PDF price is, I just add that to the
print
cost of print, and that's what I charge. And there's a lot of debate on pricing in the hobby, and I have had a lot of, I think, extra product moved because I have a reasonable price. And there's people out there who are trying to charge, $30 to $25, $30 for a 100-page PDF. You're like, what? How are you coming up with that as a fair price? So I've always felt like it should be as fair and transparent as possible to people. So that's the way I structured this.
Right.
And I think my next Kickstarter will be, I hope I will be able to make it a offset print, but then it will just be something that is one-time offset print and then becomes a POD. Yes. I'm not going to be long-term supporting it with offset printing.
Right.
Because I feel like that's the way the industry is moving. I don't want to hold product on my storage. I don't have great amount of physical space I'd love to devote to keeping books in my garage or whatever. Yeah. And the whole Diamond Distributors debacle just shows like there's other people are like, I don't think that's the way of the future. The way is you get whatever is distributed at the Kickstarter, and then if you want it on demand, you can get it on demand.
Right.
And if there's enough people that want an offset print in 5 years, then maybe we run it again.
Do another one. Yeah.
But it doesn't make sense for anybody to be sitting on this inventory when they can print books and ship them to you in apparently in a week in England. You know, what the fuck?
I know.
So rock on. Yeah, that's the way it goes.
Yeah, so we got a super chat here. Would the Shucked Oyster work in the Shadow Sun setting?
I don't see any reason why it wouldn't.
Yeah, it's meant to work in pretty much any pseudo medieval fantasy
There's
setting.
not really a religious component in Dark Sun or Shadow Sun. There's kind of a Templars in Dark Sun, but I didn't use it because I don't feel like it makes sense. Like, the gods are dead. Like, that's the whole thing. So some of the
you might have to
like that monkey god that you killed me with. I don't know if you just imagine him as a monkey god monster, then
it
works fine.
He's specifically a demon.
Okay.
But we make reference to the gods of law, the gods of chaos,
Sure,
so that it can slot into whatever you're
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah.
But
It just makes the curse even harder to lift.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think it would. I think it would work.
Absolutely.
You might have to change some minor stuff, but throw a slightly different coat of paint on it, and the characters are probably.
I think
work.
it'll be just fine if you do that.
Yeah, you might have to change the fact that we reference things like forests; those might not exist in Shadow Sun.
Yeah.
But
There are some. There's like scrubland that has some trees and some stuff like that. But yeah, there's no elven forests.
The shucked oyster is adaptable in any setting. There was a guy running it in Lancer a few months ago.
Tell us this story.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That's awesome.
Let me see here. What is the difference between offset printing and print on demand? Well, an offset print is basically a very high volume print. A lot of copies get printed at once, so it lowers the unit cost. But you have to do big minimum orders on those things. And it allows you to do things like having sewn bindings and higher quality printing, maybe a leatherette cover, things like that. Print on demand is you order a book and
It's made
then,
individually as they're ordered.
Yeah, made for you. Now, the quality might not be as high as like an offset print thing, but the convenience of not having to have inventory and, like, it's never going to be like, oh, you ordered the book, but it turns out we already sold all the stock, so there's no more books left and you're shit out of luck. That's never going to happen. So it's just you order it. And
you can get better quality paper. Also, you can get the ribbons that go through it.
Yeah.
And
With offset.
the reason why I want to do it is because of the Basic Expert. Actually, his Maquito cover is amazing.
Yeah.
And the setting that I'm working on next is an Islamic setting. And so having a big foil emblem on the front, it would really fit. So that's why I want to do it. But I'm fine with it going forward being a drive-through print with a regular. It just looks nice with the symbol, but it being like the foil edition is what people would get if they do the Kickstarter.
Yeah, exactly. Shucked Lancer sounds amazing.
You guys got to get a hold of that story.
Yeah. Can't wait to let's see here. A lot of little things. I have the Basic Expert coming on my show tomorrow night. Nice.
Excellent.
Probably to promote White Box.
Ask him to hold up one of the covers.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Well, it is 10:30. I think we're going to call it a night here.
Indeed.
But this has been a lot of fun. And
this is awesome.
We're looking forward to playing this and getting it in our hands. Definitely.
We're going to be
what
backing
day
it.
is this coming out on? Like when's
the
it
Kickstarter will go live for pledging on the 29th.
Awesome.
Okay.
I'm doing another live stream with Adrian because of his role in the playtesting process. And we're going to take it live, and it's 4:00. I know that like optimum launch time is like 10 a.m., but he's in Britain, and it is what it is.
Oh, you're doing like a launch thing.
Yeah, we're going to actually turn it on the stream.
Nice.
But I mean, I don't have any fun. I put like $1,000 on here, but like we talked about, everything is paid and done. I don't have any particular amount that I need, and it's going to all be drive-through. So that'll go, and then it's going to be a 23-day campaign, and then closing out sometime in I forget the exact day, in late August.
Cool. All right, man.
I'll be backing it.
Yeah, I'll be back
Day one.
We'll
and
be
I'll
tweeting
definitely
that out.
be picking up some add-ons as well.
Yeah, me too. I need to get Muliati and Gubardia. Cool.
But
anyway, have a good night,
boys.
everyone. We're gonna end the stream and
see you on the next one.
See you on the next one.